When I watch something like the Boston Marathon, I'm blown away. These people are like Energizer bunnies. They keep going and going, and they're so lean. How do they do it? They'll all say, by training. But what if you could skip all that? What if there were a drug that could miraculously give even the laziest slob a lean, buff bod and turn them into an endurance athlete? It sounds like the ultimate couch potato fantasy. Well, it's no fantasy to this guy. Ron Evans from the Salk Institute figured out the secret formula and gave the magic potion to a mouse. And just like that, a couch potato mouse was transformed into a real marathoner. It all started with Evans' fascination with endurance. Only some animals have it. Horses have endurance, and so do migratory birds. But our closest relatives, all the other primates, don't.
In fact, humans are the only primates that have endurance. You don't see gorillas going on marathon runs, and the other primates aren't really designed for long-distance running. Humans are designed to be good runners if we want to be good runners.
Glenn Mays is a good runner.
I've been running for a very long time. I started when I was a young kid, and I had kind of a knack for it.
I don't know how much longer I can do it.
Glenn has such a knack, he won the Little Rock, Arkansas Marathon.
Are you tired yet?
No, not yet.
And me, not so much knack.
Why don't you just go ahead and I'll catch up with you later.
Of course, Glenn works much harder than I do.
Spent a lot of time just getting in the miles and doing long runs and being on your feet for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
And all that effort has changed Glenn's muscles. There are two main kinds of muscle. Folks like this build up the bulk with what's called fast twitch muscle. It contracts fast and strong and gets its energy from a particular kind of fuel source, sugar.
Most muscle likes to burn sugar, so power muscle burns sugar.
But if you could look inside the body of someone with endurance, say inside the legs of Glenn Mays, you'd see slow twitch muscles. These can keep going for much, much longer because the fuel they burn is something much higher octane than sugar.
Endurance muscle burns fat.
When it comes to fat, a little bit provides a lot of energy. Most people can train their bodies to burn more fat, but they've got to work at it.
Exercise is what usually promotes that fat burning, but we don't get enough exercise. So we wanted to see if we could actually trigger the process even in absence of exercise.
So, Ron Evans went on the hunt for a way to rev up the fat burning in a muscle without making it exercise. He honed in on a key gene, one that can turn on lots of other genes.
We're looking at a master regulator. It's sort of a genetic switch. If you're able to switch it on, you will activate a network of genes that allows you to burn fat.
Evans figured out how to turn on this fat-burning genetic switch inside a mouse embryo, so it would work in overdrive. And then he watched the genetically engineered mouse grow up. It was definitely more svelte.
And indeed, the mouse that was generated from that does burn more fat. It's slightly thinner, and we liked the way in which the mouse was looking.
But this mouse was a lot more than good looking.
If you put it on a treadmill, it can run the pants off any other mouse. And so while the other one had been exhausted, thrown back at the treadmill, this mouse was running for another hour. And this mouse we call the marathon mouse.
By manipulating just one genetic switch in the embryo, Evans created a mouse with fantastic endurance. How's that possible? It turns out The switch Evans turned on set off a chain reaction that directed the mouse to make more slow-twitch muscle. Slow-twitch muscle is especially packed with things called mitochondria. Mitochondria are little factories inside our cells that turn sugar and fat into energy. And in the marathon mouse, the mitochondria were burning more fat than usual. The mouse's muscles and metabolism were completely transformed, as if this little guy had been exercising his butt off. All because Evans turned on one little switch in the mouse embryo.
A mouse that could run almost twice as far as an ordinary mouse made science headlines and had very interesting implications for people. After all, who wouldn't want the ability to run that extra mile? The problem was these mice were programmed as embryos to be superstars, and we don't do that to human beings, at least not yet. So Ron Evans started searching for a drug that could activate that same marathon gene. But as he soon found out, it's not that easy.
When Evans tried to use a drug to turn on the fat-burning gene in an already grown-up mouse, it didn't really work. He got a mouse that didn't run any better than average. So Evans took a closer look at what happens inside our muscle cells whenever we give them a workout.
As you become more and more trained, the muscle actually starts making more mitochondria and also making them larger so that they can actually process and break down more fuels for energy.
So how does exercise tell our muscles to make more mitochondria? Evans saw that during exercise, as energy gets consumed, certain chemicals build up in the muscle cells and trigger the cell's molecular fuel gauges. When energy gets too low, they'll signal the cell to make more mitochondria and pump out more energy.
It's like the fuel gauge. We're getting onto low, we're getting near empty, let's get the gas back in the tank.
Evans decided to try a drug called iCar that he believed would, in effect, break the fuel gauge, tricking the muscle into thinking it was running on empty, even when it wasn't running at all. So Evans got together some mice and didn't exercise them one bit.
Completely couch potato mice, all watching TV, none of them getting any exercise, and one of them was getting the iCar drug.
iCar was injected into the mouse's bloodstream 5 days a week for a month. And when this couch potato mouse got on the treadmill, the results were amazing.
That turned into a spectacular result. The ones that received iCar were able to run approximately 44% longer distance.
In fact, this drug-enhanced couch potato mouse ran nearly a mile. That's almost like running a whole marathon for you or me. And when Evans took a look inside the mouse's muscle cells, the difference the drug made was striking. Look at the normal mouse's cells. The mitochondria show up as dark spots. But look at the mouse that took iCar. Tons more mitochondria.
This looks like the muscle of an athlete.
This one drug managed to break the fuel gauge and trick the muscle into turning on its endurance genes, pushing the muscle into overdrive.
It's remarkable that the benefit of exercise alone and the benefit of the drug almost exact.
That's right. In totally sedentary mice, Evans' drug produced results identical to regular exercise. At this point, you might be wondering, where can I get some? Well, it's a bit too soon for us humans to be taking this. Though the mice didn't develop side effects, nobody really knows how it will affect people. But if it could be used safely, doctors are hopeful it could be a valuable therapy for people who can't exercise, especially for the old and frail, who can lose muscle at an alarming rate.
10 days of bed rest is equivalent to about 15 years of aging. And so oftentimes we see someone who is fully functional go into a hospital, and 5 or 6 days later they come out of the hospital hardly able to walk. A drug like this, if it helps to restore function in older people, it may make it a lot easier for them to become active, and that would be fantastic.
Ron Evans would love to see people benefit from what could be exercise in a pill. But one major concern is how this drug might be abused, especially by athletes.
Athletes have a very low threshold for looking at performance-enhancing drugs. And their real concern is not about the drug, it's whether it can be detected.
Evans has developed a test to trace ICAR in the bloodstream to discourage doping. But even if ICAR gets out there, Glenn May says he's one athlete who won't be taking it.
Well, if there was a drug that perhaps you could take that would allow you to run further, would you take it?
I don't think I would. I don't think I would. For me, the interest in the challenges and seeing what I can accomplish through my training, that's what keeps you motivated. And it's a big part of distance running is staying motivated to get out there every day and do the training.
He's gonna stick with the old-fashioned way of improving his endurance. After all, that's the one way we know definitely works. Maybe we should all try it sometime. Fantasy to this guy, Ron Evans from the Salk Institute figured out the secret formula and gave the magic potion to a mouse. And just like that, a couch potato mouse was transformed into a real marathoner. It all started with Evans' fascination with endurance. What if there were a drug that could miraculously give even the laziest slob a lean, buff bod and turn them into an endurance athlete? It sounds like the ultimate couch potato fantasy. Well, it's no fantasy. When I watch something like the Boston Marathon, I'm blown away. These people are like Energizer bunnies. They keep going and going, and they're so lean. How do they do it? They'll all say, by training. But what if you could skip all that?
Running. Humans are designed to be good runners if we want to be good runners.
Glenn Mays is a good runner.
I've been running for a very long time. I started when I was a young kid, and I had kind of a knack for it.
I don't know how much longer I can really.
Glenn has such a knack, he won the Little Rock, Arkansas Marathon.
Are you tired yet?
Only some animals have it. Horses have endurance, and so do migratory birds. But our closest relatives, all the other primates, don't.
In fact, humans are the only primates that have endurance. You don't see gorillas going on marathon runs, and the other primates aren't really designed for long distance.